Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Final Down NFL podcast with me, Jim, Punk Raider, and Denver Dave. We're here to talk about the NFL, boys. How are we doing?
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Oh no, where have you been?
That's not a phrase that you normally use. You're normally talking to me about red trousers in your library or something.
Je suis en
You speak French.
Dans la bibliothèque. Now you're on it.
Bonnet de douche, mate.
The only French phrase I know. I've exhausted a lot of it. I'm all right. How's everyone else doing?
Pretty good. Ready for Sunday. The purpose of today and another podcast we're going to do is just to preview the two teams that are involved in the Super Bowl. Because I've got both of you here.
I mean, we're not reviewing the Pro Bowl. What's going on?
No.
Did you watch
it?
No, I watched about 2 minutes of it and gave up.
Oh, do you know what? I was genuinely going to ask, did they have the Pro Bowl this year or did they replace it with the flag football? Did they have both?
They replaced it with the flag football. The flag football was the Pro Bowl.
Was it a this is going to sound ridiculous, but you're going to know what I mean.
Competitive.
Was it a competitive flag football?
Yeah, they still paid the winner $48,000. You know?
No, but I mean, when you watch the Pro Bowl, it's not competitive at all, like in any way.
Well, how? I mean, it's flag football. How intense do you want it to be? Yeah.
Were they running for a start? Because that's
yes, they were running. They were throwing. There were pick sixes. There were there was generally decent play in the bit that I saw, but I certainly wouldn't. Anyway, I wouldn't.
If you've seen the beach volleyball scene in Top Gun, you've got the idea basically of how competitive it was.
Yeah, kind of.
Anyway, I want to talk about the two teams because I've got both of you here. I'm not going to talk about the Chiefs today because it would just become a hate spiral for an hour. I want to keep it short.
That's the only reason I'm here.
No. No, I'm not getting you talking about the Chiefs again. I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles in this pod. Okay, so started with a franchise record 8-0 start to the season. They were 14-3 in the regular season, lost 2 of those games, arguably because Jalen Hurts was injured. They had a scoring of plus 8 points a game over their opponents during the regular season, ended up as the number 1 seed in the NFC, then took apart both the Giants and the 49ers in the playoffs, averaging plus 28 in scoring in those 2 games. They currently have a 188-point differential. That's how good the offense and defense are as a unit. So, guys, what's impressed you most about them this year?
Jalen Hurts.
I'd echo that.
That's it. Last year, I was vocal in saying that I didn't think he was going to be a top tier quarterback.
And how?
I thought
you still were up to halfway through this season. To be
fair. No. What I said last year is that he has. What I said halfway through this season is that he's definitely improved, but he's not proven he's a top tier. He's taken himself to that level. His next step is now winning big games. He started doing that already because in the playoffs last year he was diabolical. I mean, all of these.
It was one and done. They were one and done against the Bucks.
Yeah, but all of the Eagles, everyone who played that game was diabolical. So it is what it is. It's not unusual to see rookies or first time entries into the playoffs lose. Some quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, it took them decades to get a playoff win. So not too surprising, but no, this year has definitely come on. It helps with the fact that he's got massive depth. The GM for the Eagles has done a great job putting that roster together because it is stacked all over. It's like someone's done it on Madden. So he's helped with that. His next test is going to be number 1, keeping it going, and number 2, doing it through whatever adversity is going to come his way throughout his career next. So he's got there, and now it's a matter of him staying there.
For me, I mean, other than Jalen Hurts, which obviously kind of speaks for itself, and from Dave there, I think for me the biggest thing has been the defense. That pass rush in particular. What they've been able to do in becoming the first NFL team to have 70 sacks. They have 4 players that all made it to double-digit sacks on the season. So Reddick, Sweat, Hargrave, and Graham. So anytime you can put that much pass rush together, when you have a back end that's as good as it is, it makes your life so much easier. And the defense, even in those couple of games kind of late in the season when Hurts wasn't playing, it wasn't the defense that was the problem. It was that the offense weren't scoring the points. So I think for me, I didn't expect the Eagles defense this season to be as good as it has been. I thought it'd be all right. I thought it'd be good. I didn't think it'd be this good.
It's really kind of shown up just how much Jalen has improved this year, because the defenses on the other side had to respect him and his passing. They weren't loading the box. I mean, the Saints managed to beat them late on with Gardner Minshew because they had no worries about a deep ball, and they would just load the box and stop the run. So it's not as if you can put anyone into this game. It's not a 49ers thing where you can just stick a bog standard QB in there and you'll be okay. Jalen makes this thing work or not. It's made it quite frustrating that they've kept using him in the run game late on in these playoff games where they've been so far up. And he has taken some hits that were unnecessary, because he is absolutely vital to this team potentially lifting the Lombardi on Sunday.
That also seems to be a trait in the NFL now, though, that you make your quarterback run, and you make him take hits that he wouldn't ordinarily need to do. It seems to be that virtually every quarterback is taking unnecessary hits at the minute. So, it's an interesting one, but it's not a trend that I particularly like.
I don't necessarily know if it's down to designed runs. I think the expectation is nowadays that previously it was if you went through progressions and nothing was on, you'd throw it away. Whereas now, as a quarterback like Hurts, you're expected to run. And there's more of those types of quarterback. And I think with the ability to break tackles, because they're all big guys now as well, who can move, the benefits for breaking a tackle are another 30 or 40 yards on top of that as well. So I think it's just a character trait of the expectations of a quarterback rather than designed plays. But you're right.
Yeah,
to certain points, there have been designed plays that have been run unnecessarily towards the end of games when the teams against the Giants, for example, they're 1 million points up and there's still a designed run for Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, I'm not down
in the game at that point.
Yeah, it's there's no reason for that. But I think the major part is that it's kind of a byproduct of the way that the quarterback position has gone more than it being game planned.
Yeah, and that's the point I was trying to get across, was that it seems to be a trend in the NFL, not just something that the Eagles are doing.
Yeah, it may also have been because obviously the Eagles haven't been there in a couple of years, and this is a kind of new team. They wanted to keep their foot on the neck of the Giants, especially as a division rival, and then the 49ers, because you just never know. This team is they're a fourth down team. They go for it. They keep the pressure on.
I've been critical this season a lot of teams that take their foot off in the third quarter and suddenly find themselves in a close game because you can't get that momentum back. So I do not criticize the Eagles for keeping starters in and all right, some of the play calling maybe you'd rethink it, but I have no problem with team playing 60 minutes at all.
Well, It happened to the Broncos this season. We took our foot off the gas in week one, third quarter in week one, and it never came back for the entire season. So no, I'm down with that. But no, you're right, 100%, because we've been critical of Buffalo for that for the entire season. There's been a couple of occasions
multiple times.
Yeah, there's a couple of occasions in this season when the Cowboys have done it as well, and it's cost them.
Yeah. Anyway, they've ended up with a runner-up MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts. He had 22 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions in the regular season. 13 rushing touchdowns, though.
When's the MVP announced?
Saturday.
Thursday? Okay.
Thursday or Saturday, one of them.
And that's when we're getting all of the awards as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The NFL honors stuff.
It's going to be Mahomes that gets the MVP. So Jalen Hurts will be a worthy runner-up.
Yes.
The number 2.
Who, just out of interest, I know we're going slightly off top here, but people love a tangent, so run with it. Who's going to get the Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Whoever I nominated in our preseason spreadsheet.
Well, that says Trey Sermon on it. That's not Trey. I
don't know.
Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Because that seems to be the favourite at the moment. But
How's going to be Brock Purdy? Look,
this is the thing. It's because he's a quarterback and because he had such a run.
Should be Kenneth Walker the third. if it's anyone, because that's who I picked as my preseason favorite. But why are you
I
going
know.
down this alley?
Never stop going on about it.
This is not a conversation for today.
No.
I love a tangent.
In the playoffs, Jalen has had 7 touchdowns. Sorry, there's 7 rushing touchdowns, just 2 passing touchdowns. Not him having 7, but the actual team having 7. They've lent on the run game, which is going to be absolutely vital against this Chiefs defense. They've never been known as being great against the run. They have got better, obviously, this season, but you're going to need Miles Sanders, who averages 5 yards a carry. Jalen does 4.5 yards a carry. And then you've got Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell, who will run into a brick wall for the team. A really good unit there. They're going to have to keep that Chiefs defense honest.
And that's the one good thing about it is exactly what you said there. It's a unit. It's not just you can prep for one running back, and as long as you stop him, then the running game goes to pieces. They each bring their own special skill sets. They each bring their own strengths and weaknesses. But it also helps that it means they can rotate. It means players are staying fresher. It means they're not picking up quite as many niggly little injuries. I really like the Eagles' run game. I think they've got a good balance. The only thing they haven't really got is a smasher through the tackles. But Sanders seems to be able to just about do enough of that really it's not such a problem for them. I think the one thing that surprised me in the playoff run is how little they've had to pass. So neither the 49ers nor the Giants were really able to shut that running game down enough to force Jalen to have to win the game. So as a consequence, you've kind of ended up in this scenario where everyone's looking at the run because they've run a lot. But actually, if you look at the receivers as well, the receiving has dropped off massively. So, although you've got AJ Brown, who's probably their best receiver since Terrell Owens was there, if we're honest. I literally couldn't think of a better one.
I would have said Jeremy Maclin. He had one good season, but I can't put him next to T.O.
That's dreadful.
Their best receiver in recent times has probably been Ertz, to be honest, because he was there for so long.
So he's not a wide receiver.
I know, but receiver, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm saying from a wide receiver point of view, AJ Brown's their best receiver since Terrell Owens, and he hasn't had a touchdown in the playoffs.
No.
Which it's pretty remarkable when you're considering how much we are now praising Hurts for improving his passing and so on and so forth. But it also goes to show that this run game is really difficult to stop.
Which then makes, I think it's kind of a false flag about them not being great in the passing game because they haven't needed to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I think this Super Bowl, they're gonna look at the pass a lot more. And it's interesting you mentioned Zach Ertz there, Dave, who was integral in their Super Bowl win over the Patriots a few years ago. Their tight end, Dallas Goedert, is back. He had a 5-game injury stint in the middle of the season, but he scored a touchdown against the Giants. That's the kind of X factor you're going to need as the safety blanket for Jalen. I really like Dallas Goedert. I love picking up in fantasy.
I literally have it written here. Points. X factor, Dallas Goedert.
Ooh.
Exactly that.
Well, there you go.
In the last Super Bowl that they won, they played the tight ends who were playing for the Eagles were very, very important because they were the immediate get out of jail free card for Nick Foles every single time. And let's not forget, it's the other tight end, Trey Burton, who threw the Philly special.
He did, yeah.
So the tight ends are already written in history for the Eagles when it comes to Super Bowl. So it wouldn't surprise me if something similar happens again. I'm a big Dallas Goedert fan. And I love the fact that his family named him Dallas Goedert because they're all massive Dallas Cowboys fans. And he plays for the Eagles. That I like a lot. And that's genuinely true as well.
Yeah. And he was drafted in Dallas. The draft
the
there.
Eagles. And his family were apparently not gutted because he's still going to the NFL, but not best happy at the same time. But no, I think the Eagles are a very, very good team on both sides of the ball. I don't think there's any significant weaknesses. There's areas they could be stronger in. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I think they're a very, very warranted good team.
Just to carry on with Goddard for a minute and to kind of, picture why he might be so important in this game is if you manage to stifle the running game and blanket the receivers, then he's the one that's still there. If you go back and look at recent Super Bowl history, look at who's had big games. It's Gronk, it's Ertz, it's Kelsey, it's your tight ends. Your tight end is your player that, in theory, is always on a mismatch. So even if a defense can shut down a running and wide receiver game, you should be able to get your tight end free for enough chunk plays to help you win the game. And he's averaging, 7.5 yards after the catch. So he's running angry as well. He's breaking tackles. So I think Dallas got it as a huge piece in this game on Sunday.
Well, throughout his entire career, he's averaged over 10 yards per catch throughout his entire career. Now, that may not necessarily sound like a lot for a wide receiver, but when he's not a downfield, he's not a Travis Kelce, he's not a downfield tight end threat. He's the guy who'll receive it in the short and take it forward. So to average over 10 yards tells you that that's his career MO, and not just this season.
Yeah, he's getting severely slept on at the moment when you look at the media hype going up to the Super Bowl. So I expect Dallas to have a very good game. I think he's a severely underrated tight end. He always gets points in fantasy. When we look at, just very quickly, the draft they did focus on the defense. Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, they've both come in as nice supporting pieces for the players that they've got there already. They brought in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph mid-season. I mean, those are two bits of massive experience that you really want on that front seven. And then two great pickups in the back end of James Bradbury at corner and CJ Gardner-Johnson at safety. They have done so well this season with those pickups. Harry Roseman has done absolute wonders there. I mean, CJ Gardner-Johnson has 6 interceptions this year already. Bradbury's had 4 interceptions, 19 passes defended. And they're all... James Bradbury's picked up off the street because the Giants had no money. But CJ Gardner-Johnson just came across for a 5th and a 6th, and they got a 7th back for him. So that's great business, and they're paying dividends now because they've got the experience.
They completely identified
on Sunday.
Yeah, they completely identified the right players in the right positions to complement what they already had. So, although they had a lot of the pass rush already there, like you said, picking up people like Sue in the mid-season just adds that little bit of experience, that little bit of extra depth. But to pick up Bradbury and Gardner-Johnson as cheaply as they did, it turns this into a monster defense. It really does. I mean, they do have a slight weakness. I mean, if you think about it, I think they were second in total defense, allowing about 300 yards a game. But they're not particularly good at run defense. So because they're getting so many sacks and because they're going through on the quarterbacks a lot, they're allowing about 120 yards a game, which is kind of mid-table. It's about 16th in the league. So whether that turns into a factor or not, we'll have to wait and see.
There's some great news for the Eagles. The Chiefs don't have a run game, so.
Well, this is it.
Well, they do.
One of the Chiefs' major weaknesses is that they don't have that run game. So
the run game that they have are swing passes and things like that. So it's not as though they're up against the Derrick Henry. We're not focusing on the Chiefs. We're not going to go too heavy on that. But they haven't got a big power back to try and to get. It's all outside zone, swing back counters and pitches and stuff like that. So it's not. They're not going to get torched that way. If it is anything, it's going to be running outside of the hash marks. That's going to be the issue. But then they've got the speed of the backs to be able to get up and actually stifle those runs as well.
They stifled Saquon in the divisional round. Okay, there was that one run from Christian McCaffrey in the championship game. But, I mean, no one would have stopped Christian McCaffrey on that run. Other than that, they kept him quiet. I just think that, although I think the line is at the moment that they're the favourites over the Chiefs, that will narrow as we get closer to Sunday. It might even flip. And so the Chiefs are then suddenly, if Mahomes comes out and just does a little jog around the pitch or something, that'll be it for them saying, okay, Chiefs are now the favourites. But I don't think we can sleep on the Eagles. I think that they shut down the Giants, who, okay, they're the Giants, but they had a much better season than we thought they were going to. So that's a decent win. And I think they would have beaten up on the 49ers anyway, even if Purdy hadn't gone out. They had their number.
I think for a number 1 seed, the Eagles have been probably the most underrated team this season.
Oh, I don't
because
think
all that I do, all the way up to about week 15, 16, people going, yeah, but look at the schedule. They've not played anybody.
Yeah.
They've only played Dallas
which was
once,
valid.
you know.
Which was valid.
Well, was it though? Because
Yes.
they weren't just beating teams; they were blowing teams away, and they were winning comfortably. So,
yes,
you know,
but they were also beating teams that you comfortably expect them to beat. Now, I'm a big believer you can only beat what's put in front of you. Look at the 13-game streak that the Steelers put ahead of them. We might throw shade on it, but they beat everyone who was put in front of them, and fair play to them for doing that.
As I said, they did end those games with an average over 8 points. So they were winning by more than one score in all those games as well. Yep. They weren't close. Yep. They were easily beating those teams. Okay, they weren't the best teams, but they were still easily beating them.
Yep, absolutely. The only thing to mention, of course, is Dallas Goedert is, after this season, going to be due a big pay increase because he was drafted in the second round and there's no fifth-year option. So he'll be coming up ready for a renewal at some point. So expect him to become
he's
one of,
a free agent.
The
there are others. There is the top 10 of free agents, including Miles Sanders, Robert Quinn. They probably have to get rid of. Javon Hargrave.
I forgot they had Robert Quinn as well.
Yeah, Robert Quinn. I mean, it's a luxury piece.
It's just names after names after names on that defensive front seven, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah. Fletcher Cox needs some money if he's going to stay. Jason Kelsey. A lot of the older boys, Brandon Graham.
There'll be
he's 34. They should give him one more. It's up to them really if they do win on Sunday.
If they win
whether those players want to carry on for another couple of years.
Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham will go, do you know what?
That might be the time. Yeah, you might be right. I mean, there are 7 players coming back from that last Super Bowl squad.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're completely bereft of experience at doing this, But yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe, like you say, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, maybe could definitely see this as if we win it, walk off into the sunset moment.
And if they don't. If they lose it, it wouldn't surprise me if those players sign a 1-year, $2 million deal.
Exactly. One more go. Just to keep the team together and go again. Yeah.
Let's have another go. And we'll see where we can roll with it.
And end up 4-12 next season.
As we don't get you next week, on the next pod, Dave, for the predictions, we better get it now, I suppose. What is your prediction for the game? Your honest opinion of what's going to happen, not just because of your Chiefs hate.
Can we have your honest opinion and what the NFL script says? Because I haven't read it yet. So.
I'll email you. So I think it will be early. It will be tight. I think both teams will try and figure each other out. There'll be no going for fourth downs and stupid things like that. I think once all the nerves are settled, halftime, I think there'll be less than 14 points by the time we come to halftime. Might be 7-3, 7-6, 6-0, something like that. I think coming out of the second half, that's when we'll see the fireworks. The second half is where we're going to see everything explode, and it will be a toe-to-toe. No one's going to be throwing jabs. It's going to be proper uppercuts and straight left leads and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be big, big plays. And I think the Eagles win it 24-21. That's my guess.
That sounds like a good game, though. That sounds.
I think it will be an excellent game, and I think that there will be silliness that will happen. I think certain players will lose their head. I'm thinking of players on the Kansas offense potentially having ruckus with the defense. I'm not going to mention any names, but no, I think there's the possibility for things like interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, punt drops, all that kind of stuff. I think all of that is perfectly possible because there are, as much as there's experience on both sides of the ball for both teams, there's also a lot of players who are there for the first time who not long ago probably never thought that this was going to be a possibility for them, like Kadarius Toney, Pacheco, for example. They're starting Melvin Gordon, exactly. So these are all players who didn't think this was, and it's a big moment. And can they handle the spotlight? If Melvin Gordon gets one carry in this game, I will be astonished.
If he even suits up, I'll be
there's
astonished.
More.
Stranger things have happened.
If they're down at the 1, there's more likely of a rush from Andy Reid than there is from Melvin Gordon. But no, I think it'll be a good game. But I think the majority of what we're going to see in the first half is going to be sort of sparring, seeing what are people bringing out. I think it's down to Nick Sirianni to really come out and say, look, I'm not just here because the squad's great. I'm here because I'm a good coach as well. So that's, I think, what we need to see.
What do you think generally about the job Sirianni's done?
I think it's very easy to do a good job when your team's brilliant. I think
he has been given such a good team.
He has.
But if you wanted to walk into a situation, it's pretty much the best one you could have got.
Okay, let me flip it another side though. Pick up this entire Eagles roster. Pick up every single one of them, move them to Los Angeles, and put them in a Chargers jersey. And I guarantee they would have lost the first playoff game.
Oh yeah, Brandon Staley.
That's what the Chargers do. And Brandon Staley would have done exactly that. So I give him. There's no reason to think he hasn't done a good job. I think Matt LaFleur's done a good job, but he's had Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's been brilliant, but I think he's been absolutely fine. People throw shade on him all the time. I'm like, I think he's done okay. So Brandon Staley. I think
Nick Sirianni.
He's done a very good job. Nick Sirianni's done a very good job so far. He's a bit of a bell end in some of his after games, but it's his interviews afterwards. He's allowed to throw shade on other people, so why not? He doesn't go for stupid third downs and stupid fourth downs in his own half, like Brandon Staley, for example. And he seems to do everything.
Hang on, they did against the 49ers, and it paid off because they're pretty good on fourth down.
Okay, we did it once. Generally, tends
not. But I like fourth down. I like people going for it on fourth down.
Yeah, but not in your own half.
I think with the fourth down thing, I think he's very much one that goes with the analytics. So I think he's got someone that sits upstairs and goes, right, you've got the maths wizard says you've got 60% chance you should go for this on fourth down, and so on and so forth. So I do wonder if he has a little bit of a cherub in his ear that tells him whether or not it's worth going for it. But they've got a good record on fourth down.
Brandon Staley has someone upstairs doing the maths as well. But the problem is that's a 4-year-old with a calculator. And all they do keep on doing is hitting the plus sign. That's it.
Let's leave them out of this. All right. So that was our preview of the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we go, though, if you want to do some of a weird picks, then we've teased it earlier in the season that our relationship with Play Action Pools hasn't ended with the end of the Pod versus the People competition. We are doing a Super Bowl Pick'em one-off, and if you go to Twitter at Final Down NFL or go to thefinaldown.com, we'll put a link in there for you to get onto Play Action Pools. Go to our pick sheet where you are asked to pick a lot of different weird things like the length of the anthem,
10 prop bets on there.
The result of the first game's drive, which commercials coming first, obviously a number of touchdown scorers, that kind of thing as well, all mixed in together. A bit of fun. If you can, please sign in because we'd like to get you involved as well. That's playactionpools.com, playactionpools.com, but go to thefinaldown.com to get the link into the competition for that, or go to Twitter at FinalDownNFL. I'll have it pinned there on our main page. But also, if you want to get in touch with us, then you can also go to at @punk_Raider, at DenverDave30, or FStall@17. Finn will be here for the Chiefs because I can't deal with both of you talking about the Chiefs at the same time. We'll do that in a couple of days.
I actually managed to find some positives for the Chiefs as well. So you'd be very proud of me and my impartiality.
I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of you. How dare you?
Heard it yet.
I don't care. I don't need to.
It'll be something like they've got a really nice red uniform or something.
It's disgusting. I don't need someone to punch me in the face to tell me it's going to hurt.
They're wearing white on Sunday as well.
Oh, are they? Okay. The only other thing to mention from my point of view is very happy with the head coach. But the new Broncos head coach. But this time last year, I was very happy with Russell Wilson. So it's muted happiness. We'll see what the future brings us.
Did you see the Peyton's response when a reporter asked him about Russell Wilson's private coach that he's got in the team at the minute?
Nope.
It was I'll send it out on Twitter, but it was a very derogatory. Oh, really? Does he now? Yeah, that doesn't happen with my staff. So
there's
he's already cleaning house.
There's been a lot of talk, but the proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
We will discuss the Broncos and an autopsy of the season very shortly. We will. Don't worry, Dave. You'll have your time to shine.
I'm just saying. Look, it's the amount of text messages I got going. Oh my god, you must be ecstatic. I'm like, yeah. Let's see what happens. I was ecstatic this time last year
because I've still got the quarterback, and he's on a more solid contract than the coaches. So.
Yeah, who needs those draft
picks? Not sure about that. Let's not forget the coaches earning $26 million a year.
Yeah, money well spent there to fix a quarterback that you've invested in. Anyway, until next time, I've been Jim. That's been Punt Radio. That's been Never Dave, and thank you very much for listening.